aka Loki Laufeyson, is charged with sequence violation 72089.
Marvel has created a massive cinematic universe that has loads of stories all intertwining. There are heroes and villains, and then there are those characters that are a bit of both. No Marvel villain has captured the hearts and minds of fans quite as much as Loki. We know he's supposed to be a bad guy, but we just can't help loving him and rooting for him. So when Disney announced that they would be creating a Loki TV show, fans were overjoyed. Finally, this character would get all of the attention he deserves. But how has the show been doing? Let's see. Loki TV show fans react. Is it really what the series needs? Warning, massive spoilers ahead. Please remember to hit the like button if you enjoy this video, then subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications. That way you'll never miss a thing. Where does it fit in the MCU timeline? Because of the events of Avengers Endgame and the time travel that happened in the movie, another timeline was created. In this timeline, Loki escapes with the Tesseract during the Battle of New York, and a new version of time and of Loki is created. It is this version that is captured by the Time Variance Authority, and he's given a choice. He could be erased from time, or he could help them. So this isn't really the Loki we have come to know during all of the movies. It is a variant of that Loki, another version. So the show won't entirely be bound by the timelines that happened during the different movies, but it is possible that things have happened in the show that could influence the Marvel timeline going forward. Time Variance Authority. It can get pretty confusing if you get too deep into what the TVA is supposed to do, and where they have been hiding the entire time that the Avengers kept saving the day. But in short, the Time Variance Authority is there to guard the timeline that the Timekeepers have predetermined that time has to follow. And they're there to avoid the multiverse getting entangled. They need to keep everything straight, at least straight in the sense that they keep the timeline in the direction that the Timekeepers wanted to go. It was also the Timekeepers that actually created the TVA, and none of the people that work in the TVA are actually real human beings. So anyone that goes out of the predetermined timeline, like this version of Loki did, will be called a variant, and they can be erased at any time if they don't do what the TVA needs them to do. It doesn't sound like the healthiest and friendliest working environment, but in this case it gives Loki a second chance. Time travel rules. We've seen some pieces of time travel and seen a little bit about the multiverse during the various Marvel movies through the years, but until now the rules of time travel and the basics behind the multiverse have never really been explored. We knew that it could be done, and we knew that there were loads of different outcomes from each choice, but we didn't really know the full extent and the consequences it could have. In Loki, we're starting to see this a little bit more. It can still be confusing, but they are exploring it a bit at a time, like the fact that records are kept from events of each timeline and what happens there. They could even show Loki what his real life and death would look like. The TVA can also travel to any point at any time without all of the effort and danger that the Avengers faced when they traveled through time. This is all pretty important information, especially if you keep in mind that one of the next movies in the MCU will be the new Doctor Strange film, and it is literally called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So I have a feeling that this info will come in handy very soon. And I must admit, I really hope that it means that there's still hope that Loki will join in the real timeline too. Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson. Tom has been playing Loki for years, and it is almost unbelievable that he's still able to bring something new to the character, but amazingly, he is. The show so far has made fans fall even more in love with Loki than they ever have been, but then they cast Owen Wilson as Agent Mobius, and it took the show to a whole new level. Owen is really incredible in this role, and fans already adore him, but when the two characters come together, it's pure magic. The fans have said that the on-screen chemistry between the actors is electric. They play off each other and make the scenes between Loki and Agent Mobius really special. We can't get enough. It has truly been a great match, and there have been many comments about how much fans hope that the two can keep working for a long time. Extra Infinity Stones. Let me just get this off my chest before anything else. How dare they? Not only has the Time Variance Authority been around forever, so they could have totally stepped in at any time and helped the Avengers stop Thanos and stop the snap from happening at all, but they have been holding out even more. You know the all-powerful and completely one-of-a-kind Infinity Stones Stones that many of the Avengers lost their lives trying to protect and get their hands on? Well, apparently, there are loads of them lying around in the TVA, so many that they are even being used as paperweights. So, after all of the effort and all of the times that Marvel broke fans' hearts with some of our favorite heroes sacrificing themselves for the Infinity Stones, they aren't that special after all. I must say, this is more than a little bit infuriating, and I'm not entirely sure that the little detail needed to be included in the show at all. It feels like it cheapens all the sacrifice from the movies a little bit, but hopefully this could mean that some things could be reversed, and I would be all for that. So we'll have to see if this influences the real timeline at all, or if this was just a moment that was meant to mess with fans. Loki being gender fluid. In Norse mythology, Loki went way beyond being gender fluid, and in the comics, his sexuality has been addressed a while back. So fans have been waiting for a while for the cinematic universe to handle or address this part of Loki's personality for years. But the time has finally come to make it official. Right at the start of the Loki TV show, we saw a glimpse of this in his TVA intake papers. Eagle-eyed fans noticed that on his paperwork there was a section that was labeled sex, and under it was the word fluid. This was already a major step for Marvel and for a show that is on Disney+. But the creators of the show took this another step further. He basically came out in a conversation between Loki and Sylvie. She asks him if there has ever been a princess or perhaps another prince, and then Loki admits that there has been a bit of both, just like he suspects of Sylvie. It isn't a huge moment, but it has meant a lot to different people. Director Kate Herron has said that acknowledging that Loki is bisexual was one of the most important parts of the show for her, and many others, including Tom Hiddleston, have spoken about the importance of the moment, with many fans rejoicing over the moment, and some have even pointed out how important and beautiful the lighting for the moment was. Marvel did not miss a beat. Loki and Thor. As long as we have known Loki, he has made it his life's mission to mess with his brother Thor and get the best of him. But under all of the fighting and conflict, we all know that the two brothers really love each other and just want to have a good relationship. No matter how many times we have watched Thor watch Loki die, each and every time breaks our hearts all over again. Their relationship is more than a little bit messed up, but they always come back together, or at least they did until Loki died in the real timeline, and all that is left was this variant. Then the show gave us the moment where Loki gets to see how his real life would play out and where it would take him. In it, he sees that he manages to get a really great relationship with Thor in the end. It was a super sad and sweet moment, and his reaction was everything fans didn't know they needed. It gives us a bit of closure, but at the same time, it just hurts us all over again. Marvel sure does know how to play with our feelings. Other Lokis. The show has introduced a bunch of new characters that may or may not influence the overall Marvel timeline in the future, but one of the best moments was in a post-credit scene where Loki meets 4 other versions of Loki. He sees a classic-style Loki, a kid Loki, a Loki with his own hammer like Thor, and even an alligator Loki. And behind them all is the ruins of the Avengers Tower. It was a moment that was a lot of fun, but it might be important too. Young Loki is another one of the young Avengers that has been introduced during some of these new shows and movies in recent years. It's all coming together. Emotional television shows. Most of the shows that have come from Marvel have been super emotional and have some of our favorite characters dealing with the events from the films, and Loki is no different. We've seen a much more emotional version of the character in the series, and it has helped him grow as a character. It's a story of a villain being redeemed, something that has always been important to Marvel. Conclusion. Loki is an incredible show and a great addition to the MCU. Fans have loved the show, and we're all sure that it was exactly what we needed. Thanks for watching.